What's up, people? I am back for another video. Today, I wanted to talk about the new Guy Ritchie movie. Next Monday, I promise, we will be getting back to Bruce Lee. But I wanted to talk about this movie because I saw like a trailer for it. I guess now would be a month ago. I'm a big Guy Ritchie fan. We're not big, but I like his movies. I think him and Tarantino are like, this movie is guaranteed to gonna be good. Just so it and I feel like this was called Operation Fortune. I don't say the last part because it's not in English, but I really really like this one. This one was one I didn't really have a lot of expectations going in, but it delivered. Good cast and Hugh Grant, Jason Statham, who, in my opinion, is one of my favorite Statham roles in a while. I like him in Expendables. I didn't love the movie, but the Fast and Furious movie he did with The Rock, that was a spinoff. I didn't mind that, but in this, Wrath of Man, that was one that came out like 2 years ago now. That one was really good too. So it's like, but Statham in this he was hilarious. He was funny. He managed to be funny and a badass. Aubrey Plaza, Sarah Fidel, I thought she was great. She was like another kind of comedic role. They let her basically be Aubrey Plaza, but like if she were like a fucking, she's the tech girl of the team. Like that's the thing I really liked about this movie. Characters had roles. I haven't seen a movie like that where, we have a character that just has a role. Like, meaning any other movie, they would have had her try to be like, let's have her be like she's a fighter and she's really good with tech. Like, no. She's the tech girl. She's not like fucking beating up people. Every character had a role. Like Carrie Elways, he was the main head, and the one that Carrie Elways, in my opinion, he's probably my favorite character in the movie. Every scene he was in just carried it. I mean, in general, the actors I feel like had really good dynamics off each other, and it was just a fun action movie about getting this thing called The Handle. Them having to go undercover. They have to use an actor named Danny, played by Josh Hartnett, who I haven't seen in a movie in a long time. So like, like the cast is there. I like the setting. I really like the chemistry between the characters. I think it's just awesome to see a movie that's not relying on it's not an IP, but it's actually, let's rely on the actors, being good actors and just having good chemistry and good performances, and not just relying on CGI. That's why it was another thing. Just, there's sets. There's actual sets. And there's actual, like, dialogue and not cringe, like, reference humor or whatever. Like, it's actual dialogue. And I'm not gonna lie, this movie's pretty funny, too. Like, it made me laugh a good couple times. So basically the premise is Orson Fortune is hired by Nathan to retrieve this thing called The Handle that was stolen by Ukrainian mobsters, and they have to hire an actor named Danny, Berarducci, I think is his name, played by Josh Hartnett, and they have to go undercover to stop Greg Simmons from selling it to the highest bidder, played by Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant was great, and just in general, like every character, in my opinion, just clicked. They all like just had, and that's really what this movie was. Just, it's about, for me, really just the dialogue. Like the story is there, like it's basic. They have to try to get the handle back. The story, I'm not going to say doesn't matter per se, but it definitely is more about just the chemistry between the actors. And that's always what I feel like with a lot of Guy Ritchie films. I'm not going to say the story takes a backseat, but it's more about the dialogue and the character. I would say the same with Tarantino, too. Like, it's depending on the story. Tarantino, I think, like, obviously, like, Kill Bill, the story matters. But some movies, especially this one, like, this one is one where I would argue it's more about the character dynamics. And throughout the film, there's a rival team named, head by the guy named Mike who's trying to also retrieve the handle, who we find out is working with his own on his own. And I just think that's really what this movie was. And I definitely recommend it. Good cast, just good, just everything. That's like, it's just awesome to talk about a movie I love that's new. You know, that's not me just being angry about something or, you know, it's just, you know, and it's just nice to talk about a movie that's not based off an IP. It's not original, I'll say. It like, I was thinking, it felt like Ocean's 11 if Guy Ritchie directed it. Like, Ocean's 11, a little bit of Expendables too, just because of, like, the cast. And I would say the action's really good too. Like, the Statham fight scenes in this are really fucking great. Like, the choreography, I think they did a really good job. And I think they did also a really good job of balancing different genres. Like, cause yeah, it's an action movie, but it is also like a spy type of movie, and also a comedy. I would say there's a lot of comedy, but not forced comedy or comedy that's, they know how to place their comedy. It's well timed, and yeah. So overall, awesome movie. 9.5 out of 10. Almost 10 out of 10 if I'm being honest. Definitely recommend. I'd definitely watch this again. I'd honestly, maybe like sometime this weekend or sometime I'm gonna go see it again, because to be honest, it's just nice to talk about a movie. This is a movie that's not not based off a license, and just, it's just a good, well done movie that's just genuinely well made. And if you love Guy Ritchie films, you're gonna love this one. Just, you know, you have those Guy Ritchie-isms there, and just the good the character play, which that's great in this. And I don't think there's a character in this that I'm like, okay, they're like the weakest link, or I feel like I could have done without that character. I think all the characters work. Like, even Danny, he feels like, I think it's Bernardino, actually, the more I think of his name now. Even him, he's more like the comedy, because he's like just he's the actor. So he has to go undercover and basically play himself. But, his comedy is like, oh, I'm a posh celebrity, that cares about myself. So the humor is there, but he still is a well done character. So I just think all around, like, everybody, you have even a fun car chase in the end there. So yeah, all around a well done action movie. And that Hugh Grant scene where he fucks over his business partners about his money and telling them, oh, you only have this amount of time to transfer the money, or Fortune's gonna come here and kill everybody. That was a well done scene. Just all around, just dialogues on point. Everything is on point with this movie. So happy to say I saw it. Like, it's just nice to support something. It's unfortunate that this probably won't do great. I don't even think a lot of people probably even know this movie's out. I only knew because I saw a trailer once a month ago. I haven't seen like any posters anywhere. And in the way it ends, it does set up a sequel. I'll spoil that. I'll put spoiler in the title of this one too. Even though there's not really anything to spoil. I mean, they get the handle back. Movies like this, that for me, there's not a lot to spoil. I mean, they beat the bad guy, they get the handle back kind of deal. But they definitely do set up a sequel. I'm hoping it happens. I hope they just say, fuck it, we'll still do it anyway, even if it doesn't make a lot of money, which I just don't think it will. I hope it makes decent money, but I don't think a lot of, even the theater I went to see it today, not a lot of people there. It's because it came out, fortunately, it got overshadowed by Creed 3. More people are going to see that. And then you got this week, as much as I'm not going to go see it in the theater, but it's going to do well, or at least it's going to do somewhat well. Scream 6, that's coming out this week. And then you got a Adam Driver dinosaur movie this week. So unfortunately, I just think this movie is just going to get overshadowed. So I just hope the studio just says, fuck it, we'll greenlight a sequel anyway, just because I think this is too good to not have a sequel, because the way it sets up, they clearly... And another thing I was thinking of too, I really like how this world feels lived in. like it seems like this is the first of their movies, but the world feels lived in. Like Orson Fortune, you can tell he's been on a lot of missions already. I love when movies do that. Like there's already feel like shit's already been happening, even if this is just the first of its time. The first movie, there's already shit already exists. Shit's already happening in the background. These characters have already been through shit. Like Orson Fortune, you could tell he's been through multiple missions already, and I like that. And even the rivalry with Mike, like they set it up like, oh man, you could tell they've had beef for a while. Hey, let's get started. And you have your cool spy stuff. They go undercover. There's scenes like that. I just think this movie has everything. So, 9.5 out of 10. Definitely recommend it. I would actually say go see this in theaters. This is one I would actually say, yeah. Go see theaters. Go see theaters. Tomorrow, we're doing more Bond with Thunderball. This one's going to be one I'm almost going to be... I've seen it before, but not since I was a child. Because even when I was into Bond, I didn't really rewatch Thunderball often. So, this one is basically good. I'm almost going this one blind, but that's awesome. It's almost like Dr. No, so that's going to be cool. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. Wednesday, I was going to do Southern Comfort. I'm going to push that to next Wednesday, I promise. Because I really looked into this. The new Children of the Corn, apparently, that no one even knew was happening. I just happened to know because I just saw it. What channel that I'm subbed to. I can't think of the channel's name at the moment. That had a review out, and I looked at it, and I on Rotten Tomatoes, it's like, and I don't like Rotten Tomatoes, but it's like 7%. Like it's uber low. The score for it is like ridiculously low. So I'm like, is it that bad? So I'm gonna test it, and I'm gonna review Children of the Corn, the bullshit. It's on Hulu. I have that, so why not? We'll watch that. Fuck, am I going blind and see how shit it is? And then I'll definitely go back at some point and do like the good Children of the Corn. And then Thursday, Hellraiser 8, Hellworld, I think is what Hellraiser 8 is. And then Friday, we're gonna review Puss in Boots: Last Wish, which I can't wait for. That, like I mentioned, top animated movie in years. So I can't wait to do that. And then either Saturday or Sunday, I'm gonna review Scream 6 because I'm gonna watch it. Unfortunately, not in theaters. I also want to check out that new Adam Driver dinosaur movie 65 because I'm always down for a non-Jurassic Park dinosaur movie. So I'll be watching. I'll probably review it too. So I'll probably do Scream first though, just because my Scream 5 review did really good last year. So I figure let's prioritize that one first. So I'll probably try to watch Scream 5 some point this week. I'm not seeing it in theaters. So, sailing the high seas. So I'll wait till whenever that's put on there and watch it. And then I'll try to see if I can review it maybe, actually I don't know about Saturday night, but maybe Sunday in the afternoon, like Sunday morning or something. If not Saturday night. If I could try to see if it's maybe up there by Friday night, then maybe I could try to watch it like Saturday during the day or something. But we'll see. And then 65, I'll try to review maybe Sunday. So that's my plan overall for the week. But let's get into Operation Fortune. Let's cheers and get started. Movie opens up. Nathan gets hired by the British government because Ukrainian mobsters. Like, while this is going, I actually really like how the opening was. You see Nathan walking to the office while this is going on. The Ukrainian mobsters are stealing the handle. Like, the juxtaposition is such a cool opening. It gets going pretty quick too. It's not one of those movies. Let's have a long opening, and no, they get going pretty quick. He gets hired. He has to get a team to try to retrieve the handle back, and this is where he hires Orson Fortune. I love his entrance because Orson Fortune's on vacation. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" When he sees him, it's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" I just love it. Like the little bits of dialogue, man. It's just very well done. And so he hires him. He wants to hire his friend. He mentions how much he misses his friend Mike. I fucking love it. Just like the little bits of humor. Because like the opening scene, you see how much, because he has to work with this girl named Sarah, because, he doesn't know her, who that's Aubrey Plaza. She's like the tech girl, and then you have JJ, who's, he's like the he's like, I guess you could say kind of like the enforcer type character, along with Statham. I'd say both of them are kind of that role. And they have to try to get the handle back. They initially have to try to get this encrypted hard drive and try to nab this guy who has it. But their competitor Mike, who also took not Roman from him, Mike took him. Yeah, because Mike is like the initially he's like this rival. He's a rival not organization, but he's like a rival undercover team, and they end up forcing to get the chip, but they luckily get the information out of it before anything happens. Then this is where we're introduced to Greg Simmons. Like, the movie kind of just gets going while this is going on, like the team is doing their stuff. Because and I actually like how they keep it a mystery, but it doesn't just feel like a MacGuffin either. They actually know how to, they actually did, if you're going to use that word right, they did the MacGuffin right. They actually fucking did a MacGuffin right. Because the thing they're actually chasing actually has a point. It's not just, it's this thing we're chasing just to make it seem like there's a plot going on. But they actually did it right here. And so they learn that Greg Simmons is selling it to the highest bidder. So they know Simmons is a big actor fan, so they hired Danny Bernardino. I could be getting his last name wrong, but I know his first name's Danny. And I really love how Josh Hartnett played this, because he's not usually the type of character he plays. Like, comparing him from in this movie to like what he was, even just in like The Faculty or 30 Days a Night, it's just night and day, and I fucking love him in this. But they also know how to use him right, like, because I think they could have gone overboard and made him annoying as fuck, but they toned it down and put him in the right moments. So they basically force him because they know about his affair with his stepsister, which is great. And just like I said, the cast is just all around great. Like, I didn't even know Carrie Elways was in this movie. I'm gonna be honest. I knew like Hugh Grant was in it because of the trailers, but maybe I didn't pay attention, put two and two together. That was Carrie Elway, and I thought he was great in this movie. Like, he is the MVP. Like, how many? Even just he's in the background. Like, he's not. I mean, he's in the main plot, but he's not like in the action. Like the team is. He's kind of calling the shots from the back, but he did it so well. It's just because he's just that kind of actor that just he could just steal scenes, even if he's in it in a small role, even. And even his little dialogue with the British government is pretty funny. So they hired Danny. They have to go undercover. This is where our first undercover scene. This is where I was like, okay, this is definitely giving me a little bit of Ocean's vibes. So they have to go undercover. Sarah poses as Danny's girlfriend, and basically Danny has to play himself to look good in front of Simmons, and it works out pretty well too. And then while this is going on, they learn information more because they don't know what the handle is yet. They don't know if it's weapons or drugs or anything like that. So they, after successfully doing that, they learn more that because Greg invites Danny and Sarah, who pose her in her role in this is Michaela. That's her undercover name. Go to his house in Italia. I could be saying this country wrong. And for the weekend, and she basically agrees to go so they can get more information on the handle, and they can also plant bugs in his house and all that. While this is going on, they learn that there's going to be his lawyer is going undercover. This is where we get a chase scene between him and Statham, which was pretty funny. Oh, during the boat scene, you get a pretty cool fight scene between Statham and a guy. Like, they really don't hold back on the action in this movie. Like, they let the action rip. Like, the action, like, the fight scenes are very well done. But they also, like, try to, like, pace it right, too. So, we get a chase scene. And then the guy ends up trying to tackle Orson off the thing, and Orson just literally dumps him off. It was pretty funny. So they didn't account for him dying. And Greg is just a good, just Hugh Grant. The way he plays Greg is this whimsical billionaire, and it's believable. Like, it's a movie. And I think that's the other thing. It's just nice to see a movie that's, one, not reliant on a lot of CGI. It's, we have two really good actors who we have a bunch of really good actors. Let's actually use them and base our movie off that. It's just nice to see that. It's just, you don't get that often, especially these days, because everything, is obviously a lot. Not just CGI, just even like, we gotta be relying on just all these effects and all these, how cool we could do our action scenes. I like cool action scenes, but I like how they managed to balance that, but also, like, let's tell a good story, and we have all these great actors, so fucking let's do something with them. Because, like, that's more what I was focusing on. That's why I was, like, in this review, I'm kind of not necessarily not focusing on, but it's just, at the end of the day, I do feel like this movie, it is more about the character dynamics and just the characters in general than, let's say, the story. The story is pretty good. Like, it's your typical, like, spy kind of story. But it is definitely about just all these characters, all their interactions. You could tell, like, the way, because, by the end of the film, Orson and Sarah become a thing. But they do it in a way where you don't have, like, this forced, like, romantic subplot. You could tell just even in the bits of dialogue, they're kind of flirting with each other. But they do it in a way, they do it that way. It's, let's do, like, a fucking whole thing where they fall in love. I like that they didn't do that. Like, because by the end of the film, they're a couple now. It's just kind of it's just casual how they did it. Just, they're a couple now. Because throughout the film, they had bits of literally, like, flirting dog, especially to a point where, like, they definitely have a thing for each other, but they don't force it. That's good writing, because they could have spent did a whole subplot just about that. And I like that they kind of kept the plot focused on the handle. So the big they plant a bunch of stuff in Greg's computer and fake his lawyer's voice, because I think his lawyer's name is like Ben something, and because he died, Fortune has to go undercover as him, and he has to get his voice for the phone call, so that he copies his voice. Everything works, and we find out the handle is actually like a thing that is basically super AI that potentially could, like, if it gets in the wrong hands, nukes. And we find out that the the buyer is actually people that we mentioned earlier. That's another classic, Guy Ritchie thing where he sets something up earlier, and you have the thing that's not just him. I know there's other movies that do this, but with a lot of Guy Ritchie stuff, where there's like one thing that's vital that even just a little line they call back to later on, because we find out, because there's a scene where Greg introduces his friends, and you think, oh, these are just his lackeys, and this is where we find out, no, they're the actual people who are the buyers, or not the buyers, the sellers. You know, the buyers of the handle, and they want it so they can basically just to get money and fuck with the banks. And I really like just how like simple it is. And I do like that the bad guy isn't some cornball villain either. I do like in this, I guess Mike's kind of the villain, because when everything, because you don't know he's a bad guy. You think he's working for a government, but we find out no, he's been working on his own, and he executes he already had the Ukrainians handcuffed. No, they execute them, and they're about to have him execute Orson. JJ saves him. Then we get a chase scene between Greg's people and Danny in his old car which is a car he used in one of his movies. And we have a pretty good car chase scene, really well done. JJ and Orson learn of the car chase, and they basically save Danny and Sarah. Go to Greg, and Greg, even though they fucked him over, decides to work with them. And I love that, because at this point, I just love that he's working with them, because they do kind of initially set him up as like, yeah, he might be like the villain, but I actually like that they didn't make him the full out villain. I'm happy they went this route, because the scene where he meets with the buyers is one of the fucking greatest scenes, and he has Danny pose as his manager. And basically, while this is happening, JJ and Orson break into the building and start fucking shit up. So we get a cool action sequence while Simmons is setting the scene and basically saying, I want my money and you gotta transfer it, or basically Fortune's gonna come and kill everybody. And because they even blow up like a building like next door. This was a very well done scene, and he just gives this awesome speech and just walks out. Awesome scene. Come back. Mike's people take the money and basically execute the everybody. Fortune ends up killing Mike, and then mission, they get the handle back, kind of deal. They get the handle back, and then they go to Nathan, and Nathan basically offers them another mission where and fucking immediately fucking Fortune, everybody, no, we're on vacation. And then they argue about how long they are on vacation. Basically, it sets up like another film, basically. I really hope that other film gets made, because this was just well done. And I feel like this story you can kind of do for a while. Because basically, with the one advantage about spy films is these guys are agents. So you can kind of just have them do a different mission every time. That's why a lot of these movies you can drag out for a minute. Because, yeah, just different missions. Same thing with, like, cop stories, because it's just a different job, So you don't necessarily have to, like, force a second story, because it's easy, because it's their profession. Ultimately, yeah, they have another job. They're going to have another mission. So it makes sense. So, yeah, you can do this for a while. So just whatever mission he has, I honestly hope they do. And I love that the cast, everybody's alive in the end, because this cast was great. Everybody did. JJ was a great character, and even though he was more of like a background character, I thought he had funny little lines. Carrie always, like I said, VIP of the movie for me. Just every scene he was in, even though he wasn't in on like the action or anything, was great. Just even in the background, like he was part of the story, even though he wasn't in every scene, like physically. Simmons was great, and I actually love towards the end. I hope he comes back in the second one if they end up doing a sequel, because this was awesome. I just the great character work. Just is something that it's just awesome to see a movie. You know, this gave me like Bullet Train vibes a little. Not necessarily the same, you know, Bullet Train I've said gave me Guy Ritchie vibes, but it's definitely just that style. Like, it's just awesome to see more movies like that. I haven't seen a movie like that in a minute. So just to see Bullet Train last year, now this year, I hope we get more. You know, it's something simple and just more characters. You know, it's nice to just have a movie where focus on the actual characters and the dialogue and the dynamic. I'm cool with this. Not a lot of special effects. Yeah, there's not like big space battles or, you know, big giant monsters or whatever. I'm cool with it. You don't always have to have plots like that. Sometimes it's cool just to have nice just character work between regular people, even though in this case they're agents, but still. And the fucking action. Yeah, the fucking action was great. Statham always kills it in these type of roles, man. Everybody did their role. I thought fucking Aubrey Plaza was great as Sarah. She was funny. She fit right in. They didn't do no bullshit plot where, oh, you know, she's a woman, we have to do shit with that, or none of that. Just she was a great character. She was part of the team. Or they didn't try to make her like, oh, we have to have her fight. No, they just had her basically be Aubrey Plaza, like her, you know, snarky kind of persona, but it works wonders in this movie. I don't feel like there's any character either that's like, oh, I feel like this character's weak link, or like everybody did their job. Hugh Grant was great. I thought Josh Hartnett was great, even though I'd argue he was more of like the comedy relief throughout most of the film, because, you know, he's this actor that's not, you know, yeah, he's done stunts, but he's actually, when you're doing like actual spy shit where if you're found out, you could potentially get killed type shit. So he's not used to that. So it's just kind of cool. You have that dynamic, but they didn't overdo it either. Make him like annoying comedy relief. So all around, just great movie. Definitely recommend go seeing it in the theater. This is one I actually say, yeah, go see it in the theater. You know, it's worth it. Just, especially if you like Guy Ritchie, or just even that style of movie. The cinematography is pretty good. Nothing crazy, but I like the difference. It just feels like it's a classic spy movie. Like, we haven't had one of those in a while. Yeah, you have Mission Impossible, but I feel like even those, they're going a bit bigger scale, especially with like the stunts, especially these last few. So it's just nice to have like a smaller quality spy film like this that, you know, that's in the vein of like, yeah, like an Ocean's kind of thing where, yeah, it's not a lot of crazy special effects. You know, some cool fight scenes in this, definitely, but great. Another win from Guy Ritchie in my view. So heavily recommended. So 9.5 out of 10. Tomorrow, Thunderball, and that's about it. As usual. Talk to y'all tomorrow. Fuck Joe Biden. Fuck Kamala Harris. And Kamala Khan too. Fuck her too. Talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.